Hey guys, it's your girl Tiff. Welcome to the Change Talk YouTube channel, the official YouTube channel of Awakening Change Counseling Services. Join us here every Thursday night at 9 p.m. where we'll talk about a host of topics related to behavioral health, leadership, and self-care. Don't forget to hit the button to like, subscribe, and share with all your friends and followers. I'll see you guys soon. Hello. Good evening. It is once again Thursday night, and we're here for another episode of Change Talk. My name is Tiffany Jenkins, if we have not met already. Hey, my Insta fam. Y'all are coming in the room. Kina Bina, Kai. I owe you a phone call. I'm so sorry. Keisha Michelle is in the Instagram building. My Facebook fam is here. Come on in, say hi, let me know where you're joining me from. It's been a very interesting week, and I want us to kind of dig in to our topic tonight, which is one that I've been thinking about actually since we disconnected last week. But in case this is your first time joining me for the broadcast, like I said, my name is Tiffany Jenkins. I am the founder and CEO of Awakening Change Counseling Services in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. And I come on every Thursday night at 9 for about 20, 30 minutes, talk about a number of things related to self-care. Hey, Vicky, I'm glad you're here. And I'll tell you why in a minute. Hello, Mom. Dr. Jenkins is loading. But I come on every Thursday night. I talk about things related to self-care, leadership, behavioral health, just things that I'm qualified, as I like to say, to speak on. And hopefully things that bring some relevance and give you some tips and help you through the week. Last week we had kind of an open forum, and from that open forum, Vicky actually asked a question about toxic relationships that kind of sat with me for a little bit. And she was asking about how we know a relationship is toxic. And one of the things that I said is that, you know, it really needs some context. You can't just say a relationship is toxic because there are a bunch of factors that play into what's toxic. And the example that I gave last week was that chocolate, which a lot of us love, is toxic to dogs, right? So you wouldn't feed your dog chocolate because it would be very harmful to their system. But if you give me chocolate, I love it. I'll eat probably more of it than I should, but it's not going to be toxic for me. It just might give me a little bit of a tummy ache, right? So it kind of got me thinking about how we know whether something is truly toxic and it's really time to leave it versus some things where we have some work to do, right? And so that's really what informed the selection of this week's topic. And this week we're talking about, you know, how do we know when to cut the cord, right? When do we know that it's really something that's bad, whether it's a work situation, a personal relationship situation, any of that, versus when, we got some stuff to do and we might be, maybe we're the toxic person in that lineup. So I came up with 3 questions that I think we all need to ask ourselves when we're talking about whether or not something is toxic. Is it good for us? Is it not good for us? How do we know? Right. And the first question really is, am I being my best self in this situation? Right. Um, and when I say, am I being my best self? Um, have I lost a part of who I am? Am I just a shell of myself? Or have I just not been showing up as my full self? Your answer to that is going to determine whether it's some work that you need to do, and you might need to dig a little bit deeper and sort some other things out, or if the situation is toxic. So I'll give you an example of that. If you are, let's do something lighter. We'll talk about workplace toxicity. If you're working a job and you literally feel like every day that you go in, your soul is literally being eked out of you, right? No matter what you've tried to do, maybe you've changed your workout routine so that you have a little bit more energy. You're changing the way you're eating. You're drinking more water. You're being, you're really showing up and taking care of yourself and being your best self. And when you get there, it's just it just seems to all be sucked out of you. Well, you might have to dig a little deeper and figure out, okay, maybe it really is this situation, right? But what if you're just not showing up as your best self? What if you have to get up at 7 a.m. and you decide to play snooze tag, as we all do, until about 8:30? So then you're rushing, and then in your rushing, you forget something. So now you're irritable when you get there. It's really not your work environment then. You didn't do your work. So you're the toxic person in that space, right? So that's just one example. So you really have to take some time to think about, how do I act? How do I think? How do I feel when I am at my happiest? When I am being my best self? What do I look like? Right? And then look at, in that work situation or that relationship, how do I show up there? And if those two aren't the same, then it's you. Right? Like if you're not showing up, you're not doing your work to be your best self, then it might be you. You've got to still do your work. But if you go in and you know that you're doing all of the things, you're filling your tank, you're trying to be positive and all of that, and it's still very exhausting, you might have to evaluate that relationship, whether it's a work relationship or a personal one. Or how is my energy around this person? Kina, you in my notes. You in my notes, Kina. We're gonna talk about that in a minute. Kai said, I've been there. It's exhausting. It is very exhausting, right? Because you only have so much energy. You've only got so much gas in the tank, right? And as much as I might want to make it from here to, let's say, Georgia on one tank of gas, it's not really likely to happen. Not with my car. You might be able to do it on your car. I know I can't do it on mine, right? So it's an unrealistic expectation for me to think that I'm going to get all the way to Georgia. And I can't blame it on the roads. I can't blame it on the gas station. I can't blame it on anybody but me. But if I filled up the tank, I made my regular stops, I did everything I was supposed to do, and there is a leak in my gas tank, then I'm gonna keep having to stop and refill more than necessary. And then I know it's not me, it's actually my car. So you gotta ask, am I being my best self? The second question is, do I feel safe here? And safety comes in a variety of different forms, right? Safety is about physical safety, safety is about emotional safety, and even, I'll say, spiritual safety, right? And stay with me, I'm not going to get all deep in like hocus pocusy when I say spiritual. What I mean by spiritual is, some people call that energy, some people call it a vibe, some people actually call it spirit, right? And all of those things, it doesn't matter. But there is this other dimension that we have to account for. Do you feel safe in these spaces that you're in, right? Do you feel safe? Do you feel, of course, when we talk about physical safety, it's very straightforward. When you go to work, are you reasonably assured that you won't be physically assaulted, that you will not be injured in any way physically? In your relationship, can you be reasonably assured that your partner is not going to do anything to cause you physical harm? So those are really straightforward. But when I start talking about emotional stuff, is this work situation or this job situation somewhere where you feel respected, you feel valued? Do you feel like you can share your authentic self and your ideas and um, show up as yourself every day without being belittled in some way? Oh, you could have did your hair a little bit different. Oh, what's that outfit you got on? Oh, I don't, your colors are too bright. Is it that? Or, you know, is it, you know what? We love you just the way you are. You always bring so much joy to the office. I value your perspective, even though we don't always see eye to eye. Which one is it? Because if you're in a space where you are not safe, physically, emotionally, in all of those ways, you are in a toxic situation. And you also have to make sure that you are honoring and valuing and creating safe spaces for the other folks that you work with to make sure that you're not the toxic person in the situation. So the same kind of level of respect and safety that we're looking for is what we also have to be willing to give to others. So if the answer to any of those is no, you got to seek safety. If you're not safe, you got to get to a safe place, whatever that might look like. If you're in a safe place, then maybe it's not really, um, if you're in a safe place, it might be that you're comfortable. Let's put it that way, right? And the comfort zone is a beautiful place, but nothing ever grows there. And so you might get to a point where you don't have any of those threats to your safety, but you're comfortable. And that comfort is starting to just feel stale. You're not challenged enough and you need to move on. Then start making your exit strategy and start looking at ways that you can realistically move on. And with that, you want to ask yourself, okay, am I surviving in this space or am I thriving? Am I just kind of here and existing and kind of doing day to day stuff and kind of, ho hum? Or am I really thriving? And it goes back to the first question, are you really being your best self? Because in all of this, you have to be your best self, right? And then the third question is, what is my gut telling me? Now, yes, I'm talking about your gut as far as, again, like your energy, the vibe that you feel when you're around folks or whatever. But I'm also talking about your literal stomach, your GI tract. Are you always sick? Is your stomach always unsettled? Are you always complaining about maybe acid reflux when you're at work? Like you never can seem to eat lunch at work without feeling uneasy, or you can never kind of be around certain people for too long before you start feeling uneasy and uncomfortable and your stomach starts, either gurgling or you get really bad butterflies or something like that. Listen to your gut, whether it's your emotional gut, that we always talk about gut feeling, or if it's your physical body that is upset around a certain set of people or set of circumstances. Your body is really, really smart. And there's a really strong connection between what you feel emotionally and what you feel physically. So you got to start paying attention. Are you always getting headaches, or is always something's not quite right? Pay attention to that. That might be a sign that you are in a toxic space, whether it's your personal space or your professional space, doesn't matter. Um, for me, I know I've worked in places where um, I had migraines every day, would come home and couldn't quite figure out why. No matter how I changed my diet, no matter how I changed my sleep, it just wouldn't work. And then when I left, all of a sudden it's like, oh, migraines cleared up. It was the stress. So you really have to also listen to your body, whether we're talking about a professional space or a personal space with a relationship. And you guys have heard me say this before, that you do not have to stay in any situation. I don't care if it's a work situation, a personal relationship, whatever. You don't have to stay anywhere. Like you don't have to prove that you're, the strongest of them all. because true strength is asking for the help you need and receiving it. So let's put the cape away and give ourselves permission to be healthy. So if you find that you're in a toxic situation and you need to leave, there are three things you can do. The first thing is you want to have a very clear exit strategy. Even in the worst case scenario, having a clear plan to exit is going to be your best friend. So I'm not telling you to up and leave your job tomorrow because every time you walk in, you get a headache. That's not what I said. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is you might need to pay attention to that and then strategize and figure out what resources you have available that allow you to make the exit, in a way that does not harm you, right? Even if we're talking about an abusive, intimate relationship, the advice never is just get up and leave. You have to have a plan because in most cases, it is safest to have a plan in place that you can follow and get out and make sure that you can do so safely. The second thing is you need very strong supports in place. You need to find folks who are going to help you to really move through all of this safely, right? Now, hey, sweetie, how are you? You need to find a strong support. You need folks who are going to help you think through it, strategize, all this other kind of stuff so that you can move safely. And then the third thing is please give yourself grace. It doesn't matter how long you've been in a situation. It doesn't matter how you got yourself in it. It doesn't matter how, why you didn't leave before or whatever. None of that matters. If you're deciding to leave now, great. Let's roll with that. Let's leave now. Okay. Give yourself grace. You're going to need grace as you transition in any of these situations, whether we're talking about a professional situation, whether we're talking about a personal situation, you're going to have to give yourself grace. Beating yourself up is not going to help you navigate this any better. It's just not. Katie said, why not? Why not what? Why not just leave? Is that what you're asking? Hey, Kersha, how are you? You want to give yourself grace because the process of change, even though it's a beautiful thing, it can be a really nerve-wracking thing too. We talk about how great change is, right? And we all talk how beautiful the butterfly is, but we don't like talking about the caterpillar. We don't like talking about that cocoon, that very dark, ugly place that is that middle transition between being the caterpillar and emerging as the butterfly. We don't like talking about that. We like all of the frou-frou stuff. So, yep, why not leave? Okay, so when I say you may not be able to leave a violent situation immediately and it's better to have a plan, is because you want to make sure that you know where you're going and you know how you're going to get there safely. So I've had some folks that I've worked with who were in intimate partner violence situations, and the getting up and just leaving would have left a lot of things exposed that would have caused her some harm later on. And when we talked about it and talked through it, she needed to make sure she was leaving at a certain time so that she gave herself enough time to get out and move safely and have all of the pieces of the puzzle, so that in her case, the person had become increasingly more violent. And we were afraid that if she just left a like didn't clear up her tracks, that he would find her and it would be kind of bad. And she kind of confirmed as much when she tried to leave before without a plan. So it's always better to have a plan. Even if that plan is, I'm leaving today. When I leave from here, I'm gonna go straight to the police office and whatever, but you got to have some kind of plan. Just doing it off the top of your head and in that fight, flight, freeze mentality, when your body's in that fight, flight, freeze, all of your logic center shuts off. That's just the way we're biologically wired, right? So if you're making decisions just out of that primal instinctual side of your brain, logic is down and you're liable to make some mistakes. So that's why I say that. Hopefully that kind of clarifies what I'm talking about. Um, so yes, change is a process that makes you want to jump out of your skin. It really is. Because it's uncomfortable. If it wasn't, wouldn't we all change more things more often? Like just think about changing your the way you eat. I hate using the word diet, but changing the way you eat, right? If it was super easy to just, cut down on carbs, eat more protein, like everybody would do it, we'd all be like super fit, like weightlifting like crazy. It would be a dream. But it's not always that easy, especially because most of the change that we find that we have to make is difficult because we're changing habits that we've engaged in for a long time, right? And so we have to replace those habits with new, healthier habits. And then we get a little bit better. It gets a little bit easier the more and more we practice it. I always say practice builds permanence. There's no such thing as perfect, but practice does make these things permanent. So let me check. I think I've gotten everybody's comments. Do you guys have any more? Jump in. If you happen to join us late or you happen to catch this on the replay, hashtag replay, jump right in, ask your questions. I'll still be following even after the broadcast ends. If you have any other questions or concerns or anything that you don't necessarily want to share with the rest of the world on wherever you're watching from, be sure to jump into the comments either on social media, or you can find me on www.awakeningchange.org. When you start to change, your circle also changes. That is also the challenging part. Whew, that's a whole nother show. That is a whole nother show. Because yes, when you start changing, things that you thought were tolerable before become insufferable now, because that's no longer where you are. And I heard, a while ago, my cousin, who is a pastor in Delaware, shout out Bishop Carlos Cannon, he said, he was having a some kind of service or something, and a preacher was there, and he gave the illustration about a rocket ship. That when a rocket ship, in order for it to get into outer space, it needs boosters. But once the rocket ship has gotten to a certain point in the atmosphere, in order for it to really go into outer space, it has to drop those boosters off. Because if it doesn't drop the boosters off, it will never be able to climb as high as it needs to climb. When we start changing, all of those old habits are those boosters. They got us to a certain point, but if we're going to really go further, if we're going to go as high as we know we want to go and we were destined to go, we've got to drop that stuff off. And that separation anxiety is real. It can be really, really real. So, yeah, I agree. That is definitely the hard part. Yanni, stop it. Stop it. So I think I got everybody's comments. I think I did. My Insta fam is telling me I'm preaching. Y'all always say I'm preaching. I'm not. I don't intend to. I'll put it that way. I don't intend to. But if it comes across that way, if you want to, leave an offering. No, I'm joking. But I will say this. I want to, before I get out of here, thank everybody who's already ordered. And Vicki, thank you so much for the topic without even knowing that you gave me the topic, and for joining. Elevation requires separation. Now that, Yanni, is a word. That is a word. Elevation requires separation. I want to thank all of you who have joined, not only tonight, but those of you who have already pre-ordered your book. I found a typo, guys. I found like a pretty bad typo that I had missed in pre-production reviews. So Those of you who have ordered, your books will be coming to you soon. We just have to get the Jazz. We just had to get the books. We got to get them reformatted and reprogrammed. So they will be out very soon. I was hoping to get them to you by the 1st of July. It's looking like it's going to be a little bit later. We still have about 5 spots left for pre-orders. 5 spots left for pre-orders. So if you have not yet ordered your book, Reclaiming My Time, Black Woman's Guide to Self-Care, this lovely thing right here, if you have not gotten your copy of the book, there's still about 5 of them available. All of the pre-orders will be personalized and signed by me. And there's also going to be a nice little gift box of things that is included for all of my folks who pre-order. After those 100 are gone, we still will have books on hand that you can order directly from me. And we'll have all of that information available once we fix the typo that I found. I'm glad I found it before I shipped it out to you guys, though, because I would have been very heartbroken if you had typos in your book. So thank you all for your support. Thanks for joining me here. If you have any ideas for things that we can discuss and talk about, drop it right into my DMs if you're on Insta or Facebook, or you can always find me on www.awakeningchange.org. I do not take for granted the fact that you guys come and hang out with me every Thursday night. I really think it's cool. And I would love, love, love to hear from you. What other announcements we got? I think that's it. I think I've done all the announcements. Oh, if you happen to be joining on Insta or Facebook, go check out, I think Facebook got the preview of the commercial before we came on. But if you happen to be joining me on Insta, I need you to go over to the YouTube page and check out the phenomenal introduction video or commercial video that was filmed for us for the YouTube channel and for the book promo by Chris Steed at I Got Flicks. Chris did an amazing job of putting together an awesome promo video for both the book and the YouTube channel that I think everybody just needs to see. So go over to the YouTube channel and check out that intro and let me know what you think. And like I said, if you got any show ideas, drop them in and let me know. If you happen to catch me on the replay, just jump right in, ask me questions, participate, and I will get back to you. All right, guys. So stay safe. Stay safe. Coronavirus is still out here. Please take care of yourselves. Wash your hands. And know that I really, really, truly do appreciate you all. Thank you so, so much for joining me. And I will see you guys next week, hopefully. Toodles. Bye, my Insta fam.